In the unfolding narrative of South Korea's past, 1980 stands as a pivotal moment, a time when the echoes of protest and the shadows of military oppression converged in the city of Gwangju. The Gwangju Uprising, a pro-democracy movement met with brutal suppression, serves as the backdrop for Hong Kong's profound narrative, Human Acts.
Our journey begins with Dong-ho, a young boy standing on the threshold between innocence and the harsh realities of a nation in turmoil. Amidst the aftermath of the uprising, Dong-ho finds himself at the municipal gym, a makeshift morgue where the dead await identification. Sitting on the steps, he listens to a memorial service, the national anthem filling the air with a poignant mix of patriotism and sorrow. Thousands of voices unite, yet Dong-ho feels a profound dissonance. The symbols of national pride seem hollow when the very nation has inflicted such pain upon its people.
Dong-ho's role is grim yet crucial. Alongside two women, Sun-ju and Eun-suk, he catalogs the bodies that arrive each day, victims of the violence that has engulfed Gwangju. They wrap the corpses, note identifying features, and assist grieving families in their search for lost loved ones. Interwoven with his duties is Dong-ho's personal quest, the search for his missing friend, Jeong-dae. Memories flood back. The moment he saw Jeong-dae shot during a protest, his own fear paralyzing him from offering aid. Guilt gnaws at him, a relentless reminder of his perceived cowardice. Despite his mother's pleas to return home and the increasing danger as rumors of the soldiers' return circulate, Dong-ho remains determined. Hope flickers within him, though the mounting coffins threaten to extinguish it entirely.
The gym itself becomes a character, a silent witness to the enormity of death and sorrow. Each day brings more bodies, more families shattered by loss. Amidst this, moments of human connection surface. Sun-ju and Eun-suk offer Dong-ho small kindnesses, a shared snack, a moment of rest, brief respites from the overwhelming horror. Dong-ho contemplates the nature of life and death. As he replaces candles beside unclaimed bodies, he muses on the lingering of souls, the transition from the corporeal to the ethereal. These reflections underscore the surreal and traumatic experiences that have become his new reality. The boundaries between the living and the dead blur, leaving him struggling to process the magnitude of the tragedy unfolding around him.
Transitioning from the realm of the living, we enter the consciousness of Jeong-dae, Dong-ho's friend, whose life was abruptly ended by a soldier's bullet. Existing now in a state between life and death, Jeong-dae's soul remains tethered to his decomposing body, discarded among countless others by the soldiers. He observes with detached horror as his body is mishandled, piled beneath others, left to rot in a forest clearing. The soldiers, wearing Red Cross armbands that mock the very notion of mercy, treat the bodies with callous indifference.
In this liminal space, Jeong-dae grapples with confusion and anger. His thoughts return to his sister and Dong-ho, the ties of love and friendship anchoring his fading sense of self. He recalls moments of tenderness, his sister's laughter, shared dreams of the future, highlighting all that has been stolen from him. The injustice of his death fuels a desire for retribution. Yet, as a disembodied soul, he is powerless. The nights bring brief, shadowy encounters with other souls, but these offer no solace. The faceless bodies surrounding him symbolize not only physical decay, but the systematic erasure of individual stories. The arrival of new corpses, some mutilated and painted to obscure their identities, deepens his despair.
As the soldiers return to burn the bodies, Jeong-dae's connection to his physical form weakens. The flames release his soul, allowing him to drift upward, carried by smoke and ash. Freed yet aimless, his thoughts turn to Dong-ho. Sensing a disturbance, a surge of souls departing the mortal world, he realizes with profound sadness that his friend has also died. Determined to find him, Jeong-dae moves into the darkness, his journey mirroring the collective tragedy of a generation lost.
5 years later, in 1985, we meet Kim En-suk, an editor navigating the treacherous waters of censorship under the military regime. She endures a brutal interrogation, her face swollen from slaps, her spirit tested but unbroken. The authorities demand information about a fugitive translator involved in publishing a politically sensitive text, but Eun-suk refuses to betray her colleague. Returning home, she grapples with the physical pain and psychological trauma of her experience. The pervasive fear of surveillance and repression seeps into every aspect of her life. At work, manuscripts are returned from the censor's office, blacked out to the point of absurdity. Entire pages are rendered meaningless, a visual representation of the regime's attempt to silence dissent and control the narrative.
Eun Suk reflects on her memories of the Gwangju uprising, images that continue to haunt her. She recalls the dead bodies, the sounds of gunfire, and the overwhelming sense of helplessness. The memory of Dongho, the young boy she encountered during the uprising, lingers. She had urged him to leave, sensing the danger, but he remained, a decision that led to his death. This unresolved guilt intertwines with her current struggles, a constant reminder of the cost of resistance. Attending a theatrical performance that evokes the events of Gwangju, Eun Suk confronts her buried emotions. The actors portray scenes of loss and mourning, their silent movements mirroring the enforced silence of society. As multicolored streamers, symbols of mourning, descend onto the stage, Eun Suk is overwhelmed. She silently mouths Dongho's name, tears flowing as she allows herself to feel the full weight of her grief.
In 1990, we hear from a former prisoner who reflects on his incarceration and the enduring impact of torture he endured when he was just 23 years old. He recounts the relentless physical abuse, fingers crushed by a pen, beatings that left lasting scars, and psychological torment designed to break the human spirit. The prisoners, stripped of dignity, form silent bonds through shared suffering. Hunger and thirst become constants, with meager meals turning into battles for survival.
Central to his account is Kim Jin-soo, a fellow prisoner whose fate becomes a focal point. Jin-soo, once involved in organizing funerals and caring for the dead during the uprising, ultimately takes his own life, a final act of despair. He reflects on the moment the provincial office fell, recalling how Jin-soo advised younger boys like Dongho to surrender, believing they would be spared. Instead, they were executed on the spot, a betrayal that epitomizes the cruelty of the regime. The infamous photograph of the slain children serves as an indelible reminder of innocence lost and the failure of humanity.
The narrator questions the purpose of revisiting such pain. He draws parallels between the atrocities in Gwangju and other historical tragedies, expressing a deep cynicism about the capacity for human cruelty. His scars, both visible and invisible, represent wounds that time cannot heal.
By 2002, Lim Sun-ju is left to navigate the complexities of memory and the burden of survival. Once a labor activist, she now finds herself torn over the request to record her testimony about the uprising. The mere thought brings back a flood of memories, both of camaraderie and of profound suffering. She recalls her time as a factory worker, enduring grueling conditions and fighting for basic rights. Her friendship with Sung-hee, a passionate leader in the labor movement, provided strength amid adversity.
The Gwangju uprising becomes a pivotal point in her life. She remembers the collective hope that briefly ignited the city, the unity among diverse groups yearning for change. Yet, the swift and brutal response by the military shattered this hope, leaving deep wounds. Seonju's memories are haunted by the deaths she witnessed during the uprising, especially that of Dongho, a young boy who refused to leave the provincial office and was killed by soldiers. She recounts the heartbreaking sight of his body in a photograph she discovered years later, lying twisted on the ground, a reminder of the senseless loss of life. This image becomes a focal point for her unresolved grief and guilt as she blames herself for not having done more to protect him.
Sunju's personal losses are compounded by physical trauma inflicted during imprisonment. Torture leaves her infertile, her body a constant reminder of the violations she endured. The weight of her experiences isolates her, making intimacy and connection painful. As she contemplates recording her story, Sunju is torn between the desire to honor the past and the fear of reliving it. Visiting a hospital to see Sung-hee, now gravely ill, she confronts the fragility of life and the relentless passage of time. The chapter ends with uncertainty. Will she find the strength to give voice to her memories, or will silence prevail?
In 2010, we enter the world of Dongho's mother, a woman whose life has been defined by loss. She believes she sees her son in the streets, a fleeting glimpse that reignites the pain she carries. Her grief permeates every aspect of her existence. She recalls the impact on her family, how her other sons wrestle with their own guilt and anger, how the household became a place of silent suffering. She reflects on moments with Dongho, his laughter, his curiosity, his gentle presence. The intimacy of motherhood is etched in her mind, from nursing him as a baby to walking by the riverside, his small hand in hers. These memories are both a solace and a source of profound sorrow.
Participating in protests with other bereaved mothers, she sought justice and recognition for the victims. Confronting officials, enduring arrests, and facing indifference, she embodies the relentless pursuit of truth in the face of denial. As time passes, the seasons mirror her internal landscape. Spring brings renewed pain, summers are exhausting, and winters chill her to the bone. She carries a photograph of Dongho, a tangible connection to a son who remains ever present in her heart. Survival, for her, is an ongoing act of remembrance.
In 2013, the narrative comes full circle as Han Kang herself reflects on her connection to Gwangju and the process of writing Human Acts. As a child, she was sheltered from the full reality of the uprising, her understanding limited to whispers and fragments overheard from adults. The shadows of those events, however, lingered in her subconscious. Years later, compelled to uncover the truth, she delves into research, visiting archives, tracing the stories of victims, and confronting the long-held silence surrounding the tragedy. Discovering a photograph of Dongho, she becomes determined to honor his memory and give voice to the countless others who suffered. Her journey is marked by haunting dreams and emotional encounters. The writer acknowledges the responsibility of telling these stories, not as distant historical accounts, but as lived experiences that continue to resonate. Through her work, she seeks to bridge the gap between past and present, ensuring that the human acts of courage, suffering, and resilience are not lost to time.
Human Acts is more than a recounting of historical events. It is a profound exploration of the human condition in the face of atrocity. In this haunting narrative, we meet Dongho, a mere middle school student whose young life stands at the heart of this powerful story. Through an unusual and masterful use of second-person perspective, we are drawn inexorably into his world, not as distant observers, but as intimate witnesses. This deliberate narrative choice strips away the comfortable buffer of traditional storytelling, forcing us to confront the raw tragedy of Gwangju with an immediacy that leaves no room for emotional distance. We don't simply read about Dongho. We become him, walking the streets of a city gripped by forces far beyond a child's understanding.
In the aftermath of profound trauma, survivors walk divergent paths. Some seek solace in forgetting, desperate to bury an insurmountable pain that threatens to consume them. Others shoulder the burden of memory with fierce determination, refusing to let the atrocities fade into history's shadows. The weight of the past has claimed some entirely, while others drift through existence with a haunting detachment. And then there are those who, even after decades have passed, remain inextricably bound to those fateful days, their present forever intertwined with memories they cannot, will not let go. By reading Nobel Prize Literature winner Han Kang's Human Acts, we acknowledge the resilience and fragility of the human spirit and the imperative to strive for a more just and compassionate world.